and welcome to this morning's meeting for the SNOW JGO, and also welcome to the Senate Chamber. Today is March 18, 2024, 10:37 in the morning, and we are here this morning to hear the nomination of Mr. Joseph Santos Rios Jr. for the Cannabis Commission. He has been appointed by Governor Arno Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang. Before we proceed this morning, may I please ask everyone to just rise for a moment of silence. Thank you. And I'd like to recognize the assistance of our legal counsel, Antoinette Villagomez, our legislative assistant, Mr. Macaranes, and also this morning assisting us, Sergeant-at-Arms Benjamin Terlahi, and Mr. Delbert in the IT department. Thank you so much for helping us out this morning. Can you please call the roll?
Representative Blas Jonathan BJ Tiato.
Present.
Representative Diego VF Camacho.
Present.
Representative Vicente C. Camacho.
Present.
Senator Edith E. De Leon Guerrero.
Here.
Representative Marissa R. Flores.
Present.
Senator Karina L. Magofnia. Representative Danita K. Yangtame. Madam Chair, 5 members are present, 2 members are absent.
With 5 members present and 2 members are absent, we have established a necessary quorum to conduct our business this morning. And may the record reflect that represented members for the committee, Senator Karina Magofnia is hereby excused from this meeting this morning, and also Representative Denita Yangtimay. Moving on to item 2, that's under section rule 4, attendance and quorum for the necessary numbers to establish the business this morning. And now on item number 3, may I hear a motion to adopt this morning's agenda? There's a motion to adopt this morning's agenda and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Nays, this agenda this morning is hereby adopted. Moving on to item 4, under public comments. It is now open for anyone to make a comment on the agenda item this morning. Please state your name and the entity you are representing. And if you have a written comment, to please give it to our Sergeant-at-Arms so that we could make it part of our record also. Thank you.
Good morning, half a day, Antiro Chairwoman Edith De Leon Guerrero, and honorable members of the Judiciary and Governmental Operations Committee on behalf of the Saipan and Northern Islands Legislative Delegation. For the record, my name is Jean-Paul B. Regis, Acting Special Assistant for Administration under the Office of the Governor. On behalf of Honorable Governor Arno I. Palacios and the Honorable Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang, I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. I am here to introduce the Governor's nominee to the Sinamay Cannabis Commission, Mr. Joseph S. Rios Jr. By this time, you should have in your possession Mr. Rios' resume describing his professional experience and education. His extensive professional experience, credentials, and commitment to serving the Commonwealth in this capacity makes him a strong candidate for the position. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang placed their full trust and confidence in Mr. Rios to serve on the Sinamay Cannabis Commission. I know he stands ready to answer your questions and present his plan for the future, and we kindly ask for your prompt approval on his nomination. Thank you, Jesus Mosi Gliso, for the opportunity to introduce him to this august body.
Thank you, Mr. Regis, and please give your written comment to our Sergeant-at-Arms, Jesus Masi. Anybody else that would like to make a comment regarding the nomination of Mr. Rios? It is still open. Okay, public comment is hereby closed. Moving on to item 5, we allow now to invite our nominee, Mr. Joseph Santos Rios Jr., to sit before the committee for this morning's hearing. And please remain standing so that our LA can administer the oath as well. It's standard procedure for this committee. Thank you. Please raise your right hand.
Joseph Santos Rios Jr., you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. You may have a seat. And Mr. Rios, thank you for joining us this morning. I'd like to give you the opportunity to, if you have a prepared statement to address the committee this morning before we move into Q&A. You may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, and Hafade. Tiro. Good morning, everyone. My nerves are kicking, so please excuse when I make my speech and it's a little bit off. Hafade Zantiro, Chairwoman Edith De Leon Guerrero, esteemed members of the SNILE JGO Committee, friends, family, and those of you in attendance here and online. Gohu si Joseph Santos Rios, a proud native of Saipan, Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Although I left for the States at the age of 11 and had periodic visits to Saipan, it has been over 30 years since I last resided here. However, I returned 9 years ago and reestablished my roots in the place of my birth. I am deeply grateful for the support and confidence bestowed upon me by this administration, particularly the Honorable Governor Arnold I. Palacios and Honorable Lieutenant Governor David M. Apatang, for granting me the opportunity to serve on the Sinamay Cannabis Commission in accordance with the will of the people of the Commonwealth. Distinguished members of SNILE, I am truly honored to be nominated and humbled by the privilege of being in your presence, as mandated by Public Law 2066, 2005, and specifically the Sinamay Codified Law Title 453007B1, known as the Advice and Consent Clause. As I await your forthcoming deliberation on my appointment, I am here to willingly answer any questions regarding my qualifications to serve the people of the Sinamay as a cannabis commissioner, a position of great prominence. With utmost sincerity and expertise, I hope to address all inquiries posed by this committee members with clarity and directness. If confirmed as the 5th commission member, I will bring my legal education and experience to bear in assisting my fellow commissioners in implementing and executing a regulatory system that is practical and fair to both business applicants and licensees. To gain a comprehensive understanding of Sinamay's emerging marijuana industry, I must first familiarize myself with the current market conditions and regulatory environment, as well as comprehend its impact on existing applicants and licensees. Moreover, it is of utmost importance to seek guidance from jurisdictions where marijuana has been legalized, both in terms of federal legality and economic prosperity. While there are no enchanting spells or potions, we remain hopeful for congressional action potentially happening this year. This optimism is supported by our agencies, resulting in a shift in perception and cautious optimism towards the possibility of legalization or at the very least descheduling. Currently, the regulations governing our budding marijuana industry seems to possess substance and lay a solid foundation for a more robust regulatory system standard. However, like all things, it can still be further improved, based on the needs and input of stakeholders. Under the leadership of Chair Jose B. Palacios, together with Vice Chair Hofschneider, Secretary Song Song, and Treasurer Iguel, I am confident that the implementation and execution of Sinamay's codified laws, Public Law 2066 and 2005 Amendment, commonly known as the, please forgive me if I don't say this, if I assassinate the word, Tulum War Sensible Cannabis, Sinamay Cannabis Act of 2018 are in capable hands. In conclusion, if confirmed, I will work in harmony with the existing commission members rather than diverting or conflicting with the established plans and objectives. As a commissioner, I aim to foster communication and collaboration with my colleagues, explore innovative ideas, and strictly adhere to the cinema laws and regulations, all with the goal of achieving a better regulatory framework, licensing, and enforcement within the cannabis industry. As a member of the commission, I also seek to truly understand the stakeholders involved, specifically those engaged in the marijuana business. By addressing their interests and concerns, I hope to promote their growth and prosperity. It is crucial to recognize that without our marijuana partners, the licensees, the Cannabis Commission will fail to operate as the regulatory body envisioned by our codified laws. Thank you, and may God bless the, the United Municipalities of the Sinai.
Thank you, Mr. Rios, for your opening statement this morning. Please provide a copy to our Sergeant at Arms so that we could make that part of our record of this hearing this morning. Members, now we move into our next item on the agenda for discussions. Any members? I recognize now Representative Vicente Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Rios. You basically answered all the questions I wanted to ask. So with that said, I'm just gonna make a brief statement and recommendations. So far, since the inception of the cannabis industry, promising outcomes have shown that the industry is viable and has great potential. More importantly, it's a standalone cinema industry. The industry has taken a few years to establish. Some of the outcomes are that it is now employing cinema residents. Monies generated by the industry stays within the cinema. If or when you are confirmed, I ask that the commission work together to improve the industry. One of the items on my list is collect and protect data in regards to the ill effects of the cannabis within the community, especially amongst the youth. Come up with preventive measures to ensure the safety of the people and the tourists from harassment and criminal activities. This is really all I have to say for now. So thank you for accepting the nomination and good luck. Thank you, Madam President. I yield for now.
Thank you, Representative Camacho. Any other members? Recognize Representative Diego Camacho.
Good morning.
Yes, good
So-
morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rios, and thank you for accepting this nomination. Could you please share your thoughts on placing a temporary or a permanent moratorium on licenses issued by the commission?
uh, for me right now, the way I look at it, in my honest opinion, it'd be too speculative for me to just make that recommendation at this point in time because I'm not in there and I don't see what impact, if necessary or if needed, whether it's a promising strategic move in part of the commission or whether it's something that needs to be done at this point in time. Just basically, I need to know. I need to be in there to see it. I mean, I could say right now, from a outside perspective, I could say right now that yes, we need that moratorium. Right? I could argue that we need that moratorium because there's already 16 processors out there and 8 retailers and 1 lounge producers, 16 producers, 8 retailers, 1 lounge and 1 processor. But then who's to say what's the limit for licensing? Who's to say? I mean, have we touched up on that yet? Have we really do the studies and see whether or not we need more or we need less? If the economy is good, yes, I understand the significance of putting that moratorium, right? I'm sorry, I don't mean to elaborate, but I just want to make sure that I answer this correctly. I do see the significance of that moratorium because we don't want the whole island to be marijuana. I mean, An example is the poker. It's everywhere, and then what happens? Our kids sees marijuana store in every corner of our island. So yes, I do agree to that moratorium, but I would also make sure that we really look at it carefully. We don't want to just jump on it and decide, okay, let's do the moratorium. Let's look at it, and then if anything, maybe that could be an option down the road. But yes, I do see it. I mean, it's a small island. What do you expect? There's only so much things you can put on this island, and it looks overcrowded. So to answer your question, give me that opportunity to be a commissioner. I'll look into that. And then when you call us in for our oversight or hearing or whatever it is you guys want, I'll update you. I'll let you know. But yes, I do agree with that moratorium.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, because yeah, the commission itself needs the time to review data, and hasn't been thoroughly, done. Um, Another, this is maybe more of a suggestion and not really a question, but it may be um, debatable in terms of the possibility of exporting even within the Commonwealth. What do you could you just share maybe your thoughts on that? If
Okay,
yeah,
I got a few. So based on the congressional laws, right, that are out there, I think 5485, 30 3617, H 3617, and S 2890 and S 2860. These are all in regards to marijuana, right? So everybody knows the hemp bill, the Agriculture Improvement Act bill, the hemp bill, um, uh, farm bill. Sorry, farm bill that was passed in 2018. That's a great step where we're going. That's why I said I'm very optimistic in my opening. That's a great step because now they're including a psychoactive component. So they redefine hemp. So what they basically did is they just open up a pathway to make this, legal. So if you have a little crack in the wall, you get water spilling out, and eventually that crack gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then boom. So not only that hemp bill, 3 years later in April 2022, they passed or not passed. Yeah, they did. The House passed Congressional House 117 passed the Morse Act, Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act. That was to decriminalize, marijuana, the psychoactive drug of marijuana. All this stuff that I'm saying, including the SAFE and the SAFER Act and all that, that opens up that gateway for exportation. So we're not only talking about within our, let's not talk about within our islands. Let's talk about bigger. Let's talk about how we can export these type of products and strains to other areas of the globe. Everybody's thinking internationally. Why can't we? I know it's a pipe dream, and I know it's a wishful thinking at the end of the day. But hey, if you don't shoot far and you don't shoot high, then there's no point of shooting at all. You can only gauge on the distance you can get to if you try. Like a famous quote that I recently heard: every step leaves a footprint, no matter how small, it is. Okay, that's by I don't want to say the name because it's kind of funny. But anyways, that's where I'm going at. So any little thing that we do, basically, anything that we do. I'm trying to be serious because this isn't a serious environment. I don't want to crack jokes or say something stupid. So that's what I'm just trying to say.
thank you.
But your second question was in regards to importing for now. If we can import, export to our sister islands. I think there's there's still federal issues in regards to moving product over international waters.
But I do think, we're still in one Commonwealth, so like, again, it's debatable depending who you ask. But it's something that could be brought up or even looked into. I mean, given your law background, right? So
Yeah.
if there's something that could be on black and white
So
stating that we can or we cannot, because it's still up. It's a gray area. Something to really look into.
yeah, if I'm hearing you correctly, Representative Camacho, is that we're gonna try to look into the loopholes. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, well, of course we share that covenant, with the United States, and I'm pretty sure if we look and we dig into the laws, you know, with the, we could probably find something in there that. But then, in response to that, I would question what's the opportunity, what's the advantages if we export to our sister islands versus them just creating their own strains and making their own marijuana.
It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
On either islands, Tinan or Rhoda, there's no licensees.
yeah,
I know they do have their festivals and
yeah,
whatnot that
yeah,
certain vendors here could potentially bring their business down.
yeah.
But that's all I have for now.
Well, thank you very much for that
Madam
question.
Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Camacho. Any other member? Recognize Representative Marisa Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Rios, for being here. And thank you for accepting the nomination. I just have a comment. So, with marijuana being legal within the Commonwealth, I also know that we can diversify that, and maybe start looking into um, other ways or forms of the business, right? In the United States, you have edibles, and that is a little bit less invasive to, let's say, the manumku, who'd rather um, take it orally rather than inhale, right? So, with no lab being in the Commonwealth, and obviously being an issue because we don't really know, or we can't really gauge how much oil is going into a product. Um, how could you? I mean, in your view, what does that look like, and how can you, I guess, promote that one area that we're missing so far? Because we've got the stores, we have the plants, but we are only selling it in one form. I know there's also the gel pens that seem to make its way this way, right? I'm not sure how that's being imported, but it's here. And in terms of diversifying that, maybe that's something we can do as far as tourism is concerned. But take me down, I guess, your idea of how we can possibly work with the current businesses, and maybe kind of get to that point where we can get a lab, so that we can diversify the product. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Um, Sitting on this side again of the aisle and not really intimately understanding the mechanics and what they have done and what they haven't did, and also sitting on this side of the aisle and I've yet to visit one of these shops because I myself don't smoke at this moment. So I really don't feel the need to go until once I'm a commissioner. Of course, this is going to be my first and foremost duties, is to go over there and really see and evaluate and start taking notes. In regards to the promoting edible with our licensees, if I understand that question correctly, if there's none I'm assuming right now that there's none in existence. There's no edibles out there, so that's what I'm basing my assumption on that. In regards to forcing edibles to have private licensees, or probably more so, we will be promoting that idea. So yeah, we can promote that. I see promoting that idea and providing some sort of incentives on our part. If you guys start diversifying your product and including edibles and on other items on your list, then that's something that we can look into and probably, give you some sort of incentive, you know. In regards to, what's your second question? I know you have two questions.
I think it was just mostly a comment. I really wanted to find out your view towards, taking the product and rather than just having one product to sell, like the pre rolls, right, and the flour, how we can diversify that and use the product for other things.
Yeah.
We know that they could make oils, right?
Yes.
But in terms of flour and the lab, we need the lab to understand if there's metals
Yeah,
in the flour. When we extract that, obviously it's the oils, right? We need to have a lab to kind of do that study and collect the data so that
Yeah.
we can turn it over into an edible product. So I just wanted to know, I guess, what your thoughts on, having the lab sooner than later, right? So that
Yeah.
we can diversify a little bit more.
I
That was it.
agree. I agree 1,000%. Every time we find an opportunity or a way that we can, provide that extra oomph or that extra incentive, income or whatever, just to grow the business. Period. Uh, we're open, or at least I'm open on my part. I'm never close-minded in regards to businesses. After all, that's something that I really, want to do is business. Yes, I'm assuming right now that based on, from your statement, that there's no lab currently on island. The only lab that I know when I was in commerce was the one at NMC. There was I don't know if it's a lab, but there's uh, I think is a doctor, whatever. I forgot his name, but he's the one that does looks at the food and the ingredients of the food and all that. We could possibly reach out to that person, that individual, and see whether or not we can formulate those kinds of things. Because I would think that once those kinds of products are starting to be put out on the shelf, there's also standards, regulations in regards to packaging and labeling and all sorts of stuff that's required by the law. So first and foremost, once we reach out to these people, we want to see our laws and we want to see how we can marry married together. And then once we married it together, then we have a better understanding. And then, like I said, with promotion, then we're gonna start reaching out to our licensees and picking them up and encouraging them. Says, listen, you guys are missing a whole other market, and this whole other market can just double, triple, your income, your business income, and that's better. It's a win-win situation. They double, triple their sales, and the cinema gets a nicer cut of the pie. But yes, of course, anytime there's a business opportunity, I'll take that under consideration. If I do get appointed, I'll take that under consideration, and I'll bring it up with the commission members. Of course, I'm not the only one there, so it's going to require consensus. Yeah, I'll try my best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Representative Flores. Any other questions from the members? None? You're good? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rios. I do have some questions for you. Have you spent some time reading the centric report of the Cannabis Commission?
I kind of glanced.
Okay.
I kind of glanced at it, but not like.
I'm not
really,
sure whether you have a copy with you right now.
I think. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do have a copy of it.
All right. So I understand you're not a sitting commissioner right now, but just to kind of like have a conversation on the reporting and some questions that probably likely needs to be answered. If you look on Centric Report Year FY 2022, active homegrown marijuana registry cards.
Yeah.
The number is 20.
Oh.
On
yeah.
FY 23, the report comes in at active homegrown marijuana registry cards, 11.
Yeah.
There's a drop in number, if you notice that.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And then you have the inactive homegrown marijuana registry cards at 8. And then you have in 2023, it went up 9. 17. So I'm wondering if the industry is losing ground.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer that
no.
question right now, but I just kind of like want to bring that up to your attention at the moment. Okay.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And moving on to just to kind of like we're going to keep the thought process moving forward. On FY22, under cannabis licensing applications pending 6, explanation is awaiting submission of incomplete documents from applicant. If we move over to FY23 report, cannabis licensing application pending 6. I'm thinking if it's the same companies. But then if you look at FY23 report, cannabis licensing applications in approval in principle, it went up to 8. Whereas on 2022, cannabis licensing applications in approval in principle, 2. And so I'm thinking if the pending 6 in FY22
Mhm.
are now approved in principle, and FY23 went up to 8. I'm just calling that out, wondering if, again, it's the same companies, and now they're in principle status approval,
Okay.
but likely still pending final approval.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think
So-
back to the question of the numbers going down, and is the industry losing ground?
Okay. So again, I mean, thank you for that question, Senate President DeLeon Guerrero. So first and foremost, I did recognize the drop in those numbers when I was kind of glancing through these centric reports. I would think if I had to, because like I stated earlier, I'm not in there, so I really don't know the cause or the purpose or the real issues. I would guess that the drop is due to enforcement, due to people actually going out there and actually, enforcing that you cannot have any plants unless you're registered. Period. It's the law. You know, because I'm pretty sure that there are people there that, and that's also hurting our businesses, our cannabis businesses, because now they're not only they're not paying their registry card, to plant those marijuana plants and smoke or use it. They're also not patronizing those businesses out there, those marijuana businesses. Therefore, it's hurting the economy. Therefore, it's hurting our people from those extra money that we could be getting. It's enforcement, plain and simple. When we now discuss about enforcement, now we're looking at lack of funding, right? Everybody talks about there's no money. How are you gonna do something that is impossible? But if you really look at that word, impossible, you can make 2 words out of that, and I'm pretty sure you guys probably heard of those 2 words. So I'm possible. So it's never impossible. It's I'm possible. That's always an opportunity to figure out what's going on. I'm sorry to sidetrack. In regards to enforcement and lack of FTEs or lack of people out there, I know it's counterintuitive because I believe if I'm not mistaken, the Cannabis Commission is trying to seek additional FTEs this upcoming budget, fiscal budget. But for the time being, I would give my recommendation is to try to either outsource, right? Everybody talks about outsourcing. Outsource that that enforcement to other agencies. As a matter of fact, there's a law. There's a few laws. I was glancing at the the codified laws and the cinema laws, and I noticed, if I'm not mistaken, out of the top of my head, DPS and the AG, 2 of those enforcement agencies here. Let me make sure because I don't want to be saying something that's not correct. Title 4, Section 53060, right? This is under enforcement. Duty of law enforcement to enforce and inform the Attorney General, right? Department of Public Safety and all law enforcement officers within the Commonwealth shall enforce this chapter. So meaning all the provisions within this chapter, right? So in regards to violations, it's also incorporated in this, right? And assist the commission in detecting violations of this chapter and apprehending offenders. So right there, right off the bat is DPS. What my concern is, if we do use the DPS, if we reach out to the DPS, we would also want them to get compensated from these fines. So I would like to propose the legislative body to amend this and create some sort of money, a revolving account to give back to the DPS and share 50-50. That's what we do at ABTC. ABTC, there's a law out there. I forgot what the law is, but there's a law out there that makes ABTC and DPS come together as joint task force and they share the fees. So this is a route. But right now, as it sits, we can have these DPS right now go out there and enforce the violations of these chapters, because it says right here in 5360. So if you want me to keep going on, it's just basically then each law enforcement officer having notice, knowledge, and reasonable grounds and suspicion on all that. But those are just extra modifiers. I call them extra modifiers. But the first one there is that it says they're going to enforce the provisions of this chapter. That's really what my concern is. Second law that I come across is this the commission, right? This is giving authority for the commission itself to administer the chapter as are prescribed forms and make such rules and regulation as deems necessary to enforce this chapter. Again, we could promulgate those rules to actually have these individuals go out there and actually enforce that. So we're lacking that enforcement, that oversight out there at this current moment. We don't have that funding. Of course, we need funding, but what we could do as temporary solution until we have that funding is we can start incorporating these and start having these get into effect. And let me see, there's another one too that I came see. So for instance, under this chapter, they can, these people that we ask them to go out there, they can inspect the producer's records kept, prescribed period, all that stuff. So these are the things that we can delegate to, to the section that I cited earlier.
Okay, so are you recommending that certain sections of the statute needs changing in language? Just to
No,
summarize up the comment.
As it stands, this can probably temporarily suffice our three FTEs that we currently have, because you just mentioned earlier, right, that our registry went down. And like I said, if people don't have to pay, if there's no oversight, there's no enforcement, why would you want to pay for a card? If nobody's, coming, looking or following up or, having this actively out there, why would you want to pay for a card for a what is it? A home registry card, for homegrown registry card, when nobody's going to come? I mean, really. And if they do come, let's say a police officer that comes, are they actively asking them, do you have a home registry card for that marijuana? Probably not. They probably assume that you do. So nobody really is being actively engaging in these kinds of stuff. Once you start actively engaging in these kinds of stuff and start showing that, hey, we have laws and regulations in regards to the marijuana, then people would start listening, just like the laws, and you cannot, go out there and do crazy, stuff, because there are laws. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of implementing it and putting it in people's minds that they need that card if they want to plant. And plus, that's money that our stores are losing, and that money too transfers to our BGRT.
Thank you, Mr. Rios, for that. Just staying on the same centric report, the year.
But I'm sorry. I don't know if I clarify. Can I just
Go ahead.
clarify that last point? But just The only thing I'm asking this legislative body to do is just amend the law and incorporate a revolving account where these individuals that we do ask to assist and do a joint task force to be compensated from the fines that's received. That's all.
Thank you. Just back to the conversation on the centric report, uh, something caught my attention, which is a constant number for 2 fiscal years. Food items, $1,728 for fiscal year 2022 and FY23 also, 1,728. But I would give credit to the commission for keeping the utilities expense at a constant number of 2,000. I'm just wondering about the food item. I'm not sure if the centric report is descriptive on the expenses. I just thought I'd call that out. And I'm sure that I don't think the font should go smaller. I'm having a hard time reading this. If you become a commissioner, can you request for a bigger font? Everybody's so serious. If you take a look at that, you don't have to respond to that, but kind of like it brings my attention. So in closing, my last question to you would be on, I'm not sure if you've come across House Bill number 23-21, and that reflects back into the centric report on board and compensation, FY22, 238,600 plus, and 2023, $277,750. The proposed legislation, House Bill 2321, to amend the compensation of the CNMI Cannabis Commission members, moving it away from at a current rate of $55,000 per annum, and pretty much to bring it back, I guess, in alignment with all the other boards and commissions, mostly, to be paid by $60 and a $30 meeting fee. Have you had the opportunity to review that legislation, and what is your opinion of that?
No, ma'am, I haven't had the opportunity
Okay.
to review that. I agree to that legislation. You know, me personally, I agree.
Thank
But it's a consensus of my colleagues. The reason why I agree, because first and foremost, the CNMI is struggling. We got to be mindful. Everybody has to do their part. And if it's necessary for the commission members to be only compensated when met at, like you said, $30 or $50, that's fine. At the end of the day, we're doing the people's work, and if the economy starts pushing and it starts getting better, then I also agree that they should be compensated what they're worth. Because if the commission does put in that work, the time and the effort and the ingenuity and the innovation to create a business, a budding business, and make it something bigger than it is, and an extra revenue incentive for the CNMI, then I think you should compensate in like mine. I mean, that's the only way you reward those people who are actually talented in what they do, because you want them to continue what they do. You don't want them to be discouraged.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rios, for your honesty. You have another comment on that? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to add one more thing. What's that? I lost it. Sorry.
Okay, we're good. Thank you very much. Short recess, please. Thank you, members. We're back from that short recess with our nominee, Mr. Joseph Rios. And that ends our Q&A with the nominee. And I would like now to recognize Representative BJ Atto for the proper motion regarding the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and I'd like to thank Mr. Rios for accepting the nomination by the governor, lieutenant governor. And with that said, and all the questions that were presented to him this morning, I move that we proceed with the committee report in support of the confirmation of Mr. Joseph S. Rios Jr. to the full body. So move.
Thank you, Rep. BJ, for that motion to proceed with the committee report for the confirmation of Mr. Joseph Santos Rios Jr. and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Nays? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, announcements. We don't have any current announcements under our committee. There's no referrals after this. So may I now recognize a motion to adjourn this meeting this morning? There's a motion to adjourn and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye. Nays? Thank you, members. This meeting is hereby adjourned.